We have the audio recording going.
Not yet.
Okay.
Let's see, because Charles is the expert. I'm good at my part.
There we go. There we go. We got it. Okay. It is actually 7:01, 7 o'clock, for all intents and purposes. I want to welcome everybody to the October 17th, 2023 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Tonight on our agenda, we have one new application and the September meeting minutes for review. I also want to address a couple of other issues. The Allison Dawes application, we're going to table because she's not available till December. We had accepted her application. This way, again, it can just remain tabled until he's actually here, and then we can deal with it then. So the other issue we were going to deal with tonight was the accessory building public hearing and a vote on the decision made by the code enforcement officer, which is going to be postponed and rescheduled for November, because we didn't really have adequate time to get the public hearing notice out. And those parties have been notified, so they're comfortable with that. And again, we'll address that in November. Likewise, we also have comments that were submitted by Lynn Bruning. This having to do with basically recognizing that there are no setback requirements for certain activities on a property that might have an impact on neighboring properties. And it you know, along the lines of, I guess, moving earth or maybe a construction project that left either debris or soil in a manner that is not within the setback guidance. The problem is that there are no setback guidance in the town ordinance dealing with that. So that may be something that we'll look at in addition to the accessory buildings that don't require building permits. What setbacks we might recommend should be provided for those as well. I think there's also concern about the zoning board having the authority to change the zoning ordinances, which we do not. We basically can provide an interpretation if it is brought to our attention that a decision that has been made by the code enforcement officer is thought not to be correct, and it may come our way to determine whether the interpretation was correct and the decision by the code enforcement officer was correct. And at that point, again, we would only decide that maybe changes could possibly be made, but we cannot change the ordinance. That again, we do not have the authority to do that. One thing that I did in doing some research, there is a means of residents to file like complaints if they feel there's been a violation, either having to do with the zoning ordinance or even by a decision made by the code enforcement officer. We don't really have in place now a formal procedure for doing that. I know things have been now coming up within the open forum. You know, people have said, well, you know, such and such has occurred on a property next to mine, but there needs to be something more formal that the code enforcement officer can at least initially address and provide a response. So I'm gonna recommend, and I'll talk to Teresa about how we could put something like that in place. And I'll just pass these down, let the members look at them. These are forms that were within, zoning enforcement, which is a, New York State, guidance for how to, you know, enforcement can be carried out, but it is a way to field, you know, complaints and concerns. And again, they can be by an applicant who felt that the decision that was made by the code enforcement officer was not correct. Also, it could be by any resident who feels that there's been a violation of the zoning ordinance as they seem to understand it. There's also kind of responses that can be provided at different stages by the code enforcement officer. And again, at that point, the code enforcement officer may look to us for some guidance as, you know, whether something is such that it would require some kind of official response or again, an interpretation.
Is there a nuisance complaint that you make? Usually there would, well, often there would be a way of making a nuisance complaint to code enforcement officer or to the planning board regarding something your neighbor is doing that is affecting you. Like, for example, an odor coming from something.
That's exactly, if you look at those forms, that would be kind of a more formal way of doing that. And again, just because, you know, sometimes I'm getting emails sent to me to address a certain concern. And Teresa kind of thought that that is not probably the better way to do it. It should be done more formally so that we can actually come up with a formal response to issues that arise. There's nothing in place at this point, but I think that's something, you know, worthwhile. Also, as we do receive these complaints, they can be logged, you know, a date, time stamp, and that way, if somebody says that they brought this matter to the town's attention, it could be at least, you know, I don't know, catalog, index, however you,
Sure.
with an acknowledgement that we received it. And then again, there's also matters of response that the code enforcement officer can undertake.
Maybe, suggestion, maybe it'd say notice of complaint instead of complaint or violation.
Well, and if you look, and the other thing I'm gonna send out as a PDF because it's rather lengthy is it's zoning enforcement. This is one of those, again, it comes from the New York Department of State, and that's where I got those forms. There's also other wording regarding how the zoning and the code enforcement officer can address certain issues. It also states that, again, the zoning board of appeals does not have the authority to change the ordinance. So, but this would be a way that, you know, residents who feel that they have something that is of concern to them can formally issue, you know, notify the town that this is what they would like to have addressed. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. And again, like I say, more and more, it seems that within the context of the open forum privilege of the floor, people are bringing matters to our attention, and they may be very, you know, valid, but you know, for us to address them, they really should go to the code enforcement officer first, and then he may decide to look to us if he needs interpretation. But this also provides a means for him to address these issues. And again, in a more formal manner. All right. So we do like to have, and conduct what we call the open forum. And again, this would be, issues that, are not on the agenda, but that, might be something that somebody, has a concern with. And, or just even a general informational, question about the function of the zoning board of appeals. So I'm gonna open the, open forum at this time, and if anybody has anything they would like to contribute. If not, I'm going to close the open forum.
Nelson. Did you want me to? This for them?
I don't think we need to read it. I feel like acknowledge that we received them and kind of what the nature of them are. And again, this would be something that maybe better suited for, again, a specific, complaint or just a concern that could be, sent to the code enforcement officer. And then again, he would be obligated to come up with a response, and then it could be taken from there. And they would be logged in accordingly, just so that, something like that doesn't necessarily get buried in the meeting minute notes kind of thing, so. So getting back to our business here, again, Allison Dawes, who would submitted a variance for the construction of a swimming pool. I think this was back. I think in August.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. She's not going to be available until December, at least according to the last we know. So what I'd like to do is table that application, because we did receive it, but we can't really set a public hearing until we know that she's going to be available to respond, and then again, at that point, we would be able to render a decision.
So we didn't set a public hearing. That was.
No, we couldn't.
Okay.
It's being
It was
extended out,
Okay.
so, all right, I'm gonna make a motion that we table Allison Dawes' application. Again, this is for a variance having to do with the construction of a swimming pool, at least until December, when the best of our knowledge that she was available for us to,
Looks like it.
Chairman Gage,
all right,
Vice Chairman Lack.
Aye.
Board Member Gamster.
Aye.
Board Member Boggs.
Aye.
Board Member Leone. Aye. Board Member Mentos. Aye.
okay. So, so our first order of business is the variance application for Jacqueline Fritsch.
I'm Sophia, I'm here.
And your name?
Sophia Miseris.
Okay. And you're familiar with the request?
Yes,
Okay, can we get you a pointer? And what we're gonna do is just have you point out specifically what the request is.
Change the flag.
yeah, so if you go onto the property, the driveway is here. From here to here, and it's behind us, the back part of the driveway.
Okay. So now this is in a hamlet area. I know it's near Mariahville Lake, right?
The creek runs in the back, but
Okay,
it's not.
it's not a Lake District property.
No.
It's a hamlet, well, that's
She
important to know.
doesn't have, it is the hamlet, she doesn't
Right.
have lake rights or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. So with, I think it's, the driveway's facing north, correct?
Sure.
Okay, do we have like an overview
So we have a survey map.
Okay, yeah, this is what,
Yeah. So the creek is like way down here.
okay. And the lake would be down this way?
It's west.
Yeah, follow the road.
It's a quarter of a mile west.
Okay,
I know you go like down this way and there's the corner store and
the firehouse,
it's a ways down.
okay, but it just the orientation, is this like north, south?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the, and again, this is the existing house,
Yes.
okay, and this is a proposed, building,
So if I go back, what is happening? The shed is actually already in place.
oh, okay. Now, was a building permit obtained for this?
It was not.
Okay.
Code came, there's a fence line on the side here, so we measured from the fence to the shed. And
Okay.
that's where these dimensions are from. What the requirement is, what it is, and that's why we're asking for
Okay,
the variance.
so, and obviously, how was this brought to the code enforcement officer's attention?
I don't know, I actually just happened to be there that day, I don't live
Okay.
there, I just happened to be there.
Okay,
Within not much time after the fence or the shed had been delivered, and they said someone had called. They were very nice, we had a little discussion about what's where and what we had to do, and, I think I've been over at the office a couple of times, making sure all the paperwork was filed. And they told me to show up today, so
yes, normally, you know, a building permit
it
is
would be done before,
absolutely, because again,
I agree.
you know, if this were so out of compliance, then, you know, we would hate to see that it have to be taken down.
Right.
That's, so. So the, where it's situated now, this is the property line, this is, to the east then? Well, I'm thinking, if this is
Yes.
north,
If that's north, then that's.
that's east, right, so. Again, because this is a hamlet property, the setbacks are 15 feet on either side. The other thing, is this a full-size lot for that area? Do we know that? It should be, I think it's at least 1 acre.
We get the lot dimensions.
Yeah,
Because they're not in the packet.
Yeah. So,
There's nothing, I looked through the packet, there
Yeah.
was nothing in the packet that,
Yeah.
that had a tax map or anything else. It was just the lot is-
0.39 acres. Is what shows up on Zillow, which would have been from when she bought it, it
okay,
would have been inputted.
yeah, we're gonna really need those dimensions. You know, like, again, normally we would be provided the width of the property. And again, the depth of the property and then the total area.
Which you can probably get here, the town will have a tax map that has the dimensions.
Right.
And either code enforcement or the assessor can give you the acreage.
I just went off of everything I was told to do.
Right, no, that's not, well.
Came here to do this,
Yep.
whatever
No,
else
that-
we need, let
that's
me know
fine.
and we'll,
By the time-
we'll adjust.
Tonight you tell us what she wants to do, and then we'll set a public hearing, and we'll need that by the time of the public hearing,
Okay.
which would be next month.
Right. So now, would she, so you're not the owner, obviously.
I am not, no,
Okay. Does the owner intend to be here next meeting?
no, I'm here for her.
Okay. Well, we need, again, there should have been additional information provided. I'm trying to look,
Can I speak for a minute, please? Or are you not done? It's fine. I just wanted to ask a question about the block line. what does that indicate? Is that the property line for that house?
So this map here comes from Sims, which would be, it's not always accurate, that's why a survey map is usually recommended.
Well, I'll have a survey map next week. I live in the house next door.
Okay.
So I think the answer is it's given to represent the property line.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was ever sure or what it was. but-
Yeah, right, this is like almost like a GPS coordinate.
Okay.
But we found that they're not that precise at ground level, so if you have something that, like a survey map, that would be definitely.
And I will have it next week. He's surveying around.
Okay, well, it would, we would want it at least by next meeting. So,
I do wanna say that the fence that they're measuring from is not true to the property line. That was put there as a pasture for animals. It wasn't true to where they're measuring from on their other one. Is not, it was never put up as a property line. It was put up as pasture for animals.
So do you know which property the fence got?
I'm sorry.
Yours, is the fence on your property or is the fence on her property?
My property.
okay,
So is, again, once we have a survey, then, or the tax map, then we'll know what the actual or variance.
Well, the
request
tax
is.
map that I look at shows you that the driveway's on my property, but I don't know how accurate that is.
okay. And has the code enforcement, has Chris been out to see this?
Yes.
Okay,
She's saying it was Chris that measured from the fence.
okay, but,
That's Chris's picture right there.
oh, okay. But there's still a question about the accuracy, preciseness of the
Right.
property line.
I mean, if you look at what she's showing, that garage and driveway is on my property.
Okay, that's,
And according to measurements, it's on my property. That's why
okay.
the survey's being done.
But if the driveway's been there. for
No,
at
the
least-
driveway has not been there. They just laid the driveway in the spring.
Okay, so if they've used that section of the lot as a driveway
Correct.
for all these years.
No, that's
Well,
not,
Depends,
know.
how many years is all?
there's
these
not
years?
been anybody in the house for 40 years.
I don't know. All I know is
But MC for 40
this is
years.
what I got to work with.
that's fine.
This is what I'm working off of. If you need something else, I'm happy to provide it. If it's
To be
correct, great.
fair,
If
the
it's,
new
if it's
owner
not,
did
I'm
not
still
like-
speaking, but that's okay. If you need something different, I provide something different. If it's right, that's great. If it's wrong, that's fine too. However,
Alright, but it seems like there's a couple of issues. One, that a building permit should have been
yes,
obtained
Yes.
prior to, because then at that point. The code enforcement officer at least would, at the outset, be able to determine whether this is placed correctly. And again, if also there seems to be a concern that it may not be solely on this parcel, and on somebody else's property, that's also a concern. So,
I'm also a little confused, in the application itself, it refers to this as a shed. Which implies a certain sort of structure, and on that other graph, it's being called the garage,
There's
Which is-
two buildings.
okay?
There's the garage that they put up. The driveway is not their fault, but there when the last owner, she put the garage at the base of the driveway. Behind the garage is a shed.
right,
I don't know what they're referring to right here.
I believe that this is from Jacqueline, correct? The map
Yes.
drawn. Okay, I
Which
believe
you just
he's
put up.
referring to the shed that was just put up.
That's the garage. Behind it is a shed.
Yeah, and that shed would be, it looks like, just based on the photo, is underneath what the requirement would require for us.
Oh,
No,
I don't know.
this, according to the application, the shed is 12 by 24.
Right, I think that-
Apartment.
That's the larger structure, so if you look in the photo that's provided, you have the larger structure, I think this is your 12 by 24, and this is
Oh.
garage,
that is-
shed,
Yeah,
and this
shed.
little guy, yeah.
It's like a 10 by thing. Which also, that's questionable too, because the property line comes down and it comes back in and it goes down. That one's questionable too.
so the property line is not just a straight line.
No.
Okay, is there any reason why there was, say, a jog in it, or,
Back when the house was purchased by my parents in 1956, there was an old barn there. That house that Jackie lives in is a had an old garage that sat closer. They sat very close together. And the tree line, the tree that you see there are supposed to be hedges, but they got carried away. But anyway,
Trees.
they're trees now. But that was only put there because there was gravel driveway and you couldn't put them back further. That was just there just to be decor. It wasn't there for property line either. So there was a big garage. And the driveway kind of just consolidated, but nobody's been there for 40 years. Like, nobody's lived in the house for 40 years.
All right,
In the spring, when the pavement was laid, I said to the guy that owned it, I think that's our property. And the guy said, well, I'm just the paver, but it was already laid. So I couldn't do nothing.
so the house was, and that property was vacant until this spring?
Probably more than, yes. Well, till Jackie bought it whenever she moved in. He just bought it, and put it on
We
it.
have her deed.
Yeah.
Deeds here.
Yeah.
She bought it in July. July of 2024.
Okay, so,
And in August, she called me over and I said to her, you have to talk to the town, because I don't know you have to go speak to the town before you do anything, because I don't know the rules. And that's when things went downhill.
Well, actually, if it's on your land, then it was hers you needed to be talking, so.
So the building in the picture, just to be clear, is the garage. Brown building with the door. The 12 by 24 garage.
so was there a survey done, when the new owner moved in?
That would be the garage. That's the.
So, I mean,
That's the
I would-
one is the shed as far as the application goes.
Garage is the shed.
The shed,
The
the
application,
I see
the
the
application.
shed.
Well, no, but the 12 by 24 that the application is referring to is the garage, not the small structure behind it.
Right.
That's-
But now there might be an issue with the smaller structure and whether or not is it over the property line, because that is because the size of the structure is sub 144 square feet.
The size is not the issue, but both of them, there's definitely a question. I had a surveyor that was supposed to give me a map in hand before today. He had personal issues that sent him back. I spoke to him this morning. He said, I will have it at the beginning of next week. Like, he's in the field this week, I should have the map next week.
Okay. So we'll definitely wanna have something that nature. But the owner should have something, I mean, this property was just purchased recently, so.
There should be something in the deed that would specify the acreage.
Yeah,
There's
but
nothing
again,
against
it's kind of lacking, let alone it doesn't, there's question about. Again, the precise location of the property line, so that's also a concern.
So I would also be concerned about the front setback to the road.
Actually, I think I looked at that and Hamlet is, I,
Hamlet gets small.
Yeah, he said.
Assuming the measurement on the hand drawn picture is right, it meets the front setback for Hamlet. For the house. I think it was 33 feet, and I think to the road in the Hamlet required 28.
right, yes,
So I, for that, I took the hand drawn picture measurement to be accurate.
I know. we're a
Survey,
quarter mile
the survey.
from the lake. I'm sure.
What's that?
But we're a quarter of a mile. The houses are a quarter of a mile from the lake. So I don't know that the Lake District. road-
no, it isn't,
No, it's
and
not.
again, Hamlet is. You know, usually the hamlets like, Dwaynesburg itself is a hamlet,
Right.
I don't know, what is Raymond Corners, I think there's a section of that as a hamlet.
I didn't realize.
Right.
Hamlet up in Mariahville.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But there's a something like that there.
The front setback would need to be 20 feet under 961. According to what they submitted, it's 33 to the house.
Hmm.
So the garage is set on gravel, the
Yes.
building is set on gravel, this is not a concrete pad.
I don't know, I wasn't there when they put it down. I just happened to be there when folks showed up.
And
here I am.
Have you been in
And here I
there?
am, so, what's that?
Have you been in there?
Yes.
Into the built, into the shed?
Yes,
What is the floor?
I think there is I think the bottom of the shed itself is concrete. I think I'll find out.
It also looks a lot like a wood floor.
Can I do have a picture of the shed if you guys are of the standing from the road, if you guys wanna take a look at what it looks like on the
Yeah.
outside.
Oh, oh, so you can see it from the inside.
I
So I would say.
don't know, she had the gravel, I don't even agree.
Yeah, and I don't.
No, it's probably like stud skin, like a wooden shed. Well, again,
So just for my calculation, when I do the files, yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is, what's the usable,
Is the pad poured for it and all that?
Right.
Tax map, this is. This is what the.
if that could be done, you know,
Okay.
I mean, I know how to look it up, the other may not have the time and you know, needs to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not a, yeah, so that's like a standard type wooden, I mean, that's a wooden. Is it a garage? Was this the intent is to put a car in there?
No,
There was a shed in there.
Well,
Yes.
irregardless, I mean,
Those shed with
it's,
the picture of the garage.
um,
I think it should have been labeled as shed.
Wondered that.
it's an
my fault.
accessory building.
It is an accessory, yeah.
Yeah, but one that again should have had a building permit.
There's a balanced description of the property that had to be.
3 clicks from the white branched tree.
No, it actually gives James Pulver lots of 88 minutes east and 97 links to the north.
Right.
Even though they say there's not gonna be a car in it, and it has an overhead door, which means the car could very well fit in it.
Right. But it's still an accessory building just the same, be it a garage or storage or the like, so it's
But it can't be a garage if it has a combustible floor.
I mean, that's some building code.
yeah, right, that,
Anyway.
yeah,
It's still
so.
larger than 12, so it's.
Nelson, do we need something because, and it's Sophia, correct?
yes,
Do we need anything that says Sophia is acting as Jackie's agent?
it's already filed, notarized, filed, everything, yeah, everything they told us we needed, we did.
Okay,
That was submitted.
all right. So my inclination would be to get more information, and at least not initially set a public hearing, because I wanna have Chris maybe do a little more investigation on this. Also, I think we'll have to, and we should reach out to the town attorney if there is a concern about the property line.
I guess we should know the answer to that next week.
Well,
Right.
even still, because, you know, if it is on the neighboring property line, then again, we can't really, or at least I'm not thinking that we could just issue a.
Well, then we can, well, no, I didn't, that will, whether or not there's a public hearing, the variance would be based upon the property line as given here. The hearing would tell us that this is not where the property line is. a 6-foot variance won't cut it.
right.
And if it's actually over the property line, there is no variance that will cut it.
Again, so my inclination would be to not set a public hearing at this time until we get sufficient information to determine, again, if this is on an adjoining property, you know, then we would not be looking to issue a variance. Because that would need to be rectified before I think we could proceed.
Because it's already there.
Well, that may be the case, but it's still,
It could be a case of issuing a variance for when it's moved to a different location.
well, but we wouldn't know when it,
That being off.
right, but we wouldn't know that it would be moved until we knew the precise location of the property. So,
So we need a map, we need confirmation of what the property line is before we can move forward with setting a public hearing date, correct?
I think so, yes.
So they'll get their survey next week and they'll file it. Can we get notified? Is that okay when the survey gets filed? Because if there's any of this that we can rectify before the next meeting,
That is,
it would be great. You can probably tell it's a very tense situation between them, so the sooner we can get this rectified and.
right, well,
we can
it
have
would be nice to
present it
get that.
before Thanksgiving, it would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, again, the property line location is critical, so.
Right,
But there should be, again, the applicant should be providing more of this information. I mean, as opposed to the neighbors, I mean,
I don't know if she has the.
we provided everything we were asked for.
Yeah,
well,
Yeah, I don't, if I had been asked for something different, I would have done so, but.
I know, but again, this is why the building permit usually comes first, because those questions would be asked at that time, but
No,
that ship has sailed, so. At this point, we do have an opportunity to determine the exact location of the property line. I think the owner, if they can manage to do so as well.
with their own survey.
And well, and that's the other thing, maybe, you know, their own survey should be conducted so that. They actually know where their property lines are. If that makes sense.
Yeah, when the survey comes in, we'll take a look at it and see how it looks, and if she feels she needs to, I guess, rebuttal it. Then she can do so, but I mean, if the survey comes in and everybody's happy and. Then that's fine, or if she's like, you know what, this looks fine to me, I'll move the shed, whatever, then. If the situation can resolve itself,
Okay, well, then, all right.
that would be great,
If you're willing to accept the survey by the neighbor, that's fine, but if you have an issue, then you would be really compelled to conduct a survey of your own.
right, I
And
mean, if
then
it comes in and it says the shed's fine, and it's on Jackie's property, then she's not gonna have. A survey done, but she's good, so when the survey comes in, if it looks like there's an issue, then we'll.
that's-
Trick is where, who gets that survey, like, we'll get the survey, but it's a privately done survey, so there's also.
Well, it should be
there's a-
filed though.
Does the survey have to be filed? They're doing a survey of their own volition.
Their own private.
Yeah,
survey,
the
but I
party
guess
that's
it's up to
doing
you,
the
you're the
work
one
is you.
doing the survey.
Well, I think
you
the
okay with all
intention
this?
was to have it brought to. You know, I mean, I know my sister reached out to the county. And the last survey that was done was back in, I don't even know, 1990. 1803.
Yeah.
Okay.
1990, I believe it was, or 1980 something.
Yeah.
And based on that survey, again, that from there, and I don't even know if we have a copy of it, but based on that survey. The garage is on the property. That's why my sister is going forward and she's like, you know what? This is 30 something years old, I'm gonna go and have another one done. So I know for me. Where the property lines are.
Okay,
So if you're okay sharing that.
yeah,
Right, I mean, I
because
don't
it's
know,
you-
I don't.
Where your sister is.
Right, I don't know if her intention, I know she plans on bringing it to the town. So I don't know, and that's something that, you know, I mean, she had an appointment, so she had to leave, so
okay, But
If you don't
really,
mind, just tell if she's okay with sharing it, so we can all get to the same. You know, we all want the same thing at the end of the day, so
right.
if she's okay with it, that's fine, so.
yeah, it's really on the property owner applying for the variance is the one that should be providing the survey. But if the neighbors are willing to share that information and you're comfortable with it, then we'll take it from there, but
Okay.
if there's any concern about it, then, you know, the property owner should conduct their own survey. We'll take it from there.
Nelson, if she brings it, to the zoning board, doesn't it become public information at that point?
It would, and right, as part of. But again, this should have been provided already, or at least initially.
Yeah, I'm guessing the idea is to get it shared before,
Sure.
Yeah,
but before the next meeting and maybe get it resolved. Before the next meeting.
all right, so,
Can we also advise, check to see what they have here and what the tax map says and all of those things, because that at least you have a place to start from.
But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe based on the tax map, and I have looked at the tax map that my sister has. And based off of the footage or, you know, the whatever.
The
front line.
measurements on the tax, right?
Yeah, based on the measurements of the tax map. Again, it goes right to the middle of the driveway. Which puts that garage on the property.
okay. All right. Well, again, that needs to get
Mhm.
resolved before we proceed any further.
And that's exactly why she's having the survey done.
Okay. So, again. I don't think we need to set a public hearing yet. I think if anything, for the November meeting. The applicant can come back with the correct information and hopefully there's a resolution as far as the property line. And then we can proceed from there. So if anything, it probably wouldn't get decided on until December. Because the next November meeting, I think, is what, the 21st?
Yes.
Okay,
So I make a motion that we table this until the November 21st meeting.
yeah, until we have adequate
Yeah.
information.
Second.
Yes,
Yes.
Board member, Vice Chairman Lack.
Aye.
Board member Boggs,
Aye.
Chairman Gage,
I,
board member Ganster,
Aye.
board member Leoni,
I,
board member Matthews. Aye.
so that makes sense. So will you be interacting with the neighbors as far as when the?
No, so when they bring it. To code or however. As long as they're okay with it.
So
I'll
I can
click
bring
in to
it to
see if
the
it's
town,
there
and the
and
town can share it.
how it
Well,
looks.
So, yeah.
As long as they're okay with it, whatever works for them, and
All right,
we'll go from there, but
yeah, it should go to Chris.
it's not gonna come to me
Yeah.
personally, no, yeah.
But we,
Okay.
we do recommend anytime a survey comes into the building department that they file it with the county, because that's.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So again, hopefully the property line concern gets resolved. And then we'll take this up again in November, and if it all looks good, then we can come up with a precise. You know, set and variance, if that's still gonna be required. And then we'll set a public hearing for December, when we'll actually render a decision. There should be. Again, as far as more information that. Do you have access to the tax map information?
Schenectady County.
If we get the tech, well, the Sims will provide that, or even, I think the town.
This image here came from Sims, and that's usually what we refer to when we're pulling a map.
Right,
So unless somebody gives us a survey, we would have to either A, get it from the county, or B, have a survey done.
okay. I think Sims also can give you, like a different view, kind of like Google Maps does. This is
Okay.
the satellite, and I think there's one that actually more precisely indicates, again, the lot size
Okay.
and some of the dimensions, so.
I can check with Chris. on-
Okay, yeah, I think the best thing is to have that survey brought to Chris, and then he can take it from there. And we'll touch base with him to see how far he's gotten with it.
Yeah, according to Sims, it's 0.423 acres. And this is something like you can literally Google Schenectady County tax map and Sims will pop right up. And then you just put the parcel number in and it will give you the same thing that we're operating with.
Thanks.
Okay, good,
I'm ready.
So
All right.
we need, just to be clear, we'll need the dimensions on all four sides. So your
Um,
frontage and
which
the
this-
depth of the lot.
The survey should provide.
Yeah.
Easier, right?
Well, that depends what's being surveyed, are they surveying their property or they surveying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, never mind. Sorry.
but the tax map will at least
Yeah, the tax map should have.
provide more information than what,
You have numbers.
so,
Yes, there will be numbers, I'm saying. I said the town should be able to get you a copy of the tax.
so you were there when the shed was delivered?
I got there not, a little bit after the show was over.
Okay, what's, obviously it was delivered as one piece, but they hadn't had that, the base for it done prior to the delivery of the shed?
Yes, I didn't know the shed was even coming, so
Okay.
I have no, I was not involved in the purchase of the shed or any, or garage or whatever we're calling it. up until now.
Well, the accessory building, I know they generally require that type of base so that they are willing to, I guess to keep the warranty so that it's not set on some uneven surface that it, all of a sudden,
No, they did all that.
you're right.
Yeah.
Does the lot slope down from there?
It does, like, if you go down, like, if you head towards the creek, like, it shuts down here, like, where it gets darker, it slopes down here.
Now,
It's not down like this slope up there.
so this is where that building is, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be here. and then the shed would be-
All right. Now, it looked to me that like that base was pretty substantial. I mean, is it higher grade here than it is to the property to the east?
I'll be honest with you, you're asking me a lot of technical questions.
All right,
I'm sorry, if I could answer them, I would, I wasn't there when they built it, I didn't know it all, went
Again,
there.
we'll have
But as
to
soon as we
enforce
have the survey stuff, if we have to do anything further in terms of surveying, we will, and. Hopefully we'll have everything you need for. The next meeting,
them. Okay,
and I'll catch up with Cody, and we can meet back up out there and get the details of
yes,
whatever everybody wants.
And also see if Jackie has a survey from when the property was purchased, because it happened in July, and most of the time it's a survey.
There wasn't a survey, then there was an appraisal, so like the appraiser goes out and measures everything, but there wasn't a survey done in July.
well, so is there any other information as far as the lot configuration? Again, size, dimensions? That,
Just what be in her appraisal and what's on her deed.
all right, maybe some of that might be beneficial as well. Because if anything, if it does align with what the survey is going to show, the neighbors survey, it will at least confirm that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, we'll look to November, hopefully get a lot of this resolved prior, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. All right, thank you. You're all set.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, sir.
The resolution of all of this, but Teresa was gonna meet with.
I don't know,
Okay.
no, actually, in this gentleman, again, this is where that was brought up in the open forum, and for some reason, he said that he didn't see it. And so and again, he sent it to me, so I sent him
Right,
the draft minutes, because actually it's nicely detailed.
right.
Yeah, he came in and told me that it wasn't on there either, so I showed him the physical.
Okay, maybe he didn't see it, but the other issue, again, you know. He needs to work with Chris to get that resolved.
Right, no, I was just wondering, because my recollection of the meeting is. Everybody was gonna meet the following Thursday. Because Teresa was going to be here, and so I was wondering if there was a resolution to the whole,
Yeah, well, I haven't,
not that we were made aware of, okay.
yeah. Um. Now, I guess one thing that was determined, let's see. Okay, the reference to the variance that had been requested for this property on Lawson Road. And this gentleman was thinking that it had been denied, and apparently it had not been denied. We basically negotiated, you know, a setback like we do.
So there was a variance granted rather than
Accordingly, yes,
Okay.
but of course, the problem is that
This
This gentleman's
was not
concerned.
9.6,
The setback that was agreed to was larger than the 9.6 feet that it actually.
it could very well have been, and again, he also is concerned about, you know, the accuracy of the property line as well, so that. Again, this is becoming a recurring thing, so. I'll have to ask Chris to see what, you know, if he did talk to Teresa, what was done to resolve that. Yeah, so. If you want to just look at this, and again, this kind of confirms. What, again, what we understood about when the zoning board. That was actually Lynn's. Suggestion, we, and we're going to get.
I knew upon reading that.
Right,
What the legal.
right,
Yes.
if you want to just
Pass that.
look under legislative body, and again, this is concerned about some of the things that are now being addressed to us about. Whether we can change the actual zoning ordinance, which we do not have the authority. I mean, not that we wouldn't be participants, but.
Unless we interpret something into it.
Right, but usually there's a request for the interpretation.
Right.
We don't generate that on our own.
Well, but if we take one of these things as a request for the interpretation and find something to interpret,
Well,
fine.
again,
No, I know where you're going with this, it's what I said when I read Lynn's
yeah,
email.
I don't think we have the authority.
No, but even, in talking to Teresa about, the issue, Lance. Lance Manis, because that was kind of done informally and, which was fine, but when it becomes like a.
Okay, we have
An
a public
official request.
Yes,
And that's how it should be done, and I asked her, well, what is the procedure for that? Well, there may not be one specifically. Other than he just responded to, again, the discussion we had within.
Yeah.
The open forum, but again, it needs to be maybe more formally presented and then more formally responded to. So,
and the most appropriate place to present that is really to the town board rather than.
well, but
Because that's what he's seeking in the actual.
What is
Zoning
the
law.
purpose of this now?
He's seeking an amendment to the ordinance in its entirety, correct?
well,
That's kind of the. If it doesn't exist, he's amending the ordinance to add it.
Well,
he's,
he's kind of writing the line between requesting an amendment to add it. And suggesting that it can be implied that it's there. Because we're kind of.
in fact, what we're gonna be voting on.
Feels like a very lawyerly.
What happened was, is that, again, an accessory building was placed on a neighboring property.
And there are multiple accessory buildings for that one. I was there for that meeting where they came and
Right.
spoke about it.
But again, the fact that it's smaller than 144 square feet
Mhm.
doesn't require a building permit, then are there any, zoning ordinance that prescribes what the setback should be for that? To be honest, I'm not seeing them, but we need to take, basically, we're gonna. Because the code enforcement officer made a judgment that because it doesn't require a building permit, that it's not subject to the setback ordinances. And we're gonna basically take a vote as to whether the code enforcement officer was correct in making that judgment.
Right,
But
because
it-
we're trying to avoid having 38 sub 144 square foot buildings lining the road along someone's property.
Right.
That would be the, in the
Right.
spirit of the
Well, that was
ordinance.
what he, yes,
Correct.
you can build a fence of. Oh, in fact, it's exactly, a fence of sheds.
Correct,
That would violate the fence ordinance.
exactly. As long as they're
Fence
not
ordinance.
connected and they're independently sub 144 square feet.
That was the exact argument he made, as I recall.
I
Right,
mean, I don't hate it.
but we do have to take into account, and if you look at what Lynn Bruning had submitted, she was talking about, again, the movement of like earth and material. Without a setback could possibly have an impact on a neighboring property, because it might, channel
Change
water
the
in
grade.
such a way.
Right, so
That's another one.
that's
that-
where I was thinking the nuisance complaint is an issue.
Depositing water.
Well, right,
Yeah, right, you're causing a problem to somebody else's property because of what you've done.
Well, and again, sometimes, if things are done that don't require involvement by the code enforcement officer, nobody knows about it. So they inadvertently could be done and then have a potential impact on a neighboring property.
And that's when they become part of our ordinance, because necessity is the mother of invention on that
Yes,
one.
well,
Right,
again, a lot of times the ordinance are. I don't know, they're not as, precise as they should be. If anything, we may end up providing recommendations as to how to deal with the smaller accessory buildings. And it may involve the issues that Lynn had raised as well, so. But I wanna run this by Teresa to make sure that,
Yeah, I think
We could do
the
this.
excavations, that looking at the Anastasio hearing. I think it was the excavation and stuff that the previous owner did when the house was built that caused. The drainage issue that the Gothingers were complaining of.
right,
That's
Well,
what it
it's
is.
perceived to have caused. Whether it did or not is unknown.
but,
Well, they're there, whether that caused it or not is unclear.
yeah.
I suppose.
But again, if it were, something that required a building permit, maybe the code enforcement officer could take that into account. and say, well, you know, especially depending on the grade, because it sounds like it slopes down to the Guthridge's property.
Right, if
So-
you know Schoharie Turnpike in that area, it's like,
Except- Yes,
the hell goes down. There at the bottom of the hill.
so what I'm gonna do, you'll get the Lynn Bruning submissions, via, email, so you could be looking at those. Also, I'm gonna include, it's a PDF on zoning enforcement, and that's where I got, some of this other, you know,
The appendices for the complaints, that,
yeah, the
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 stuff we've been
forms.
passing around.
And then, right, and I just took these out for recommendation or for examples. But again, we might need to refer to this as how we might address again some of these issues that seem to be coming up regarding, you know, neighboring property settings. This all makes sense, I hope. Okay. The other thing, this Friday is the planning and zoning, at Hudson Valley, for those that have the opportunity to do that. It does provide the training. But again, it may not be all that convenient. Other than that, you'll have to, you know, do the training similar to what we've done in the past. There's webinars, I'll send the link again too, it's,
Department of State.
Department of State, local government, and then again, they have different, you know, means of satisfying the training requirement.
If you have a LexisNexis account.
oh, great.
Yeah, you might be
Yeah.
getting some of this already, so if you just document it. Didn't you tell me that, what was the latest thing that you were,
I have
You would ask me
a
to-
property law and land use, they're my requirements for the bar.
oh, right, there you go.
And I have a LexisNexis account,
Right,
guys.
so, alright, so I will tell you how I fulfilled the training
Please.
requirements this year. Continuing CLE,
Mm-hmm,
property and zoning,
Ah.
there are
beautiful,
plenty of
oh, great, okay,
webinar seminars there.
awesome.
So if you've already got the account,
Mhm.
you can take those videos and kill CLE training and zoning training in one shot.
Even better, perfect.
Jonathan, do you know if you can get to that through the SLMS state learning?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it's. My agency provides it to me as one of the benefits.
If LexisNexis is a perk, I love
Yes.
that, it is a great perk too, there's so much stuff there.
Especially if you are not in a legal title, when we merged into tax and finance.
There you go,
One of the advantages of that merger is although you are not working in a legal title, it will give you the perks of the
Mhm,
counsel's office.
that's great.
All right.
But we digress.
That's fine, it's all, again, part of the addressing and getting the training. The other thing, as far as attendance, you know, it's important that people attend more than not. I know things come up, but, you know, if you were, say, up for, you know, your renewal for your term, and if it, you know, you're not meeting the attendance requirements, you know, we might ask that you really decide whether you need to be on the board or. Again, because it's important that we have at least 4, otherwise we can't hold a meeting. And again, that's why we do ask that if for some reason you can't make it, then just let us know, because we don't want to get to a point where we don't have enough members to conduct a meeting after already set, you know, setting a public hearing, you know, with the expectation that people are gonna show up, and we don't wanna tell them, well, we can't conduct business.
I'm very sorry that I was not here, Chris Parslow texted me to be like, where are you? And I said, I have COVID and I'm pregnant, and so I will not be attending this meeting.
Well, that's,
I thought I would do the Lord's work and not come.
yeah, no, and that.
But I'm sorry about that, that was
That's,
not,
as long as we have notice too, because
Right.
again, you know, it's nice that we have more members now that it's less critical, but again, we don't wanna have a situation where you set things mentally and we're not gonna be able to conduct business. All right, meeting minutes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't present for the last meeting, can I make a motion to approve?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, if you read through it, it should make sense.
Yes, I read through.
Uh,
So I make a motion to approve the September 19th, 2023 zoning board meeting minutes.
Second motion.
Board Member Matthews,
Aye.
Board Member Leoni,
I,
Chairman Gage,
All right,
Vice Chairman Leck.
Aye.
Board Member Ganser,
Aye.
Board Member Bog.
Aye.
all right.
I make a motion. There we go, next one.
Yeah, you.
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at, I know, I'm sorry, at 8:06 PM.
Second.
Board Member Matthews.
Aye.
Board Member Ganser,
Aye.
Chairman Gage,
All right,
Vice Chairman Leck.
Aye.
Board Member Bog,
Aye.
and Board Member Leoni.
I.
great.
Some reason I thought